All right. Oops. Okay. My name's Moshe. I live in Israel in the Galilee area. Perhaps you heard of that if you read your Bible. And I've lived here for many years. And what I'm going to do today is show you the current events in America and drop them in very precisely into the scriptures about the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, specifically in the Bible, Jeremiah 50 and 51. I'm going to use the King James, and I'm going to interpret some of the Hebrew words better than the King James did, based on Strong's. I'm not going to use, just pull things out of the air. Strong's is a pretty reliable source, much better than the other ones. Okay. So I need to do a few things really fast in the live stream, in the chat, to make sure everything's good. So don't run away. I'm telling you it's going to be fast. Okay, it appears that I have sound and picture, and I'm going to do a couple of very fast things. Moving quick. I'm going as quick as I can. I'm almost there. What we're going to do is we're going to go through Jeremiah 50 and 51, which talks about the visitation of the Lord on the daughter of Babylon. And its destruction. And I'm going to show you in the scriptures how it meets the current events of today, not 2 years down the road, today. Okay? And I'm expecting a reasonably large amount of resentment from people coming in, but there's not much I can do about that. So we'll have to keep an eye on the chat during the broadcast. Okay, being a Bible-believing site, I'm gonna do some praise, and you got to remember that there's no J in the Hebrew alphabet, so Father God's name cannot be Jehovah, it's Jehovah, and Jesus' name can't be Jesus because there's no J in the Hebrew alphabet, so it's Yeshua. There's also no TH sound and many other things that are not in the Hebrew alphabet, so you have to, like you read about Hamas in King James, it's not Hamas, it's Hamat. It's a place, it's a city, it's not, not Hamas, okay? Now they say Hamas has some meaning in Hebrew like destruction, and it does, but the Hamas people don't speak Hebrew, they speak Arabic. So it's an Arabic word. You can't translate an Arabic word into Hebrew. And people have done that recently to, try to make some trumped up Bible prophecy that doesn't exactly fit. There is no God like Jehovah. There is no God like Jehovah. There There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Let me start with a couple of brief news updates that have relevance to what I'm going to be discussing. Okay. Biden has leaned, let me start at the beginning here, okay? Biden was opposed to Netanyahu coming to the White House to visit him for the longest time, okay? And I made myself a cup of soup to warm up. And I think I didn't bring it in, did I? There it is. All right. So Netanyahu wasn't allowed to come visit Biden. On February 20th, a few days preceding February 20th, all of a sudden, Biden says, yeah, Netanyahu could come anytime. Several days later, he goes to visit Biden, February 20th. October 7th, we have a massacre invasion from Hamas. In Gaza. At least 1,450 people were killed, several were taken hostages. They raped women repeatedly so much that when we found their bodies, their pelvic bones were broken. This is going to tie in later. They cut a fetus out of a woman when she was alive. When they found the bodies, the fetus was still attached to the umbilical cord, still attached to the women. They burned people alive in their cars by tying them in there with wire. They burned houses. And they killed a massive amount of people. And they took some back alive as hostages to Gaza, which most are still there. How many are still there and alive, we have no idea. The hostages that got out, because there was some exchange for a ceasefire for hostages, women said they saw hostages get killed, and the hostage women were raped repeatedly day and night all the time. Netanyahu imposed gun control on Israel. He's been prime minister with brief interruptions for 21 or 22 years. I refer to him as a curse on Israel. So he got the guns away from the people down in the south near Gaza, and that's why this all happened. When they came in with AK-47s, and basically that was it. Had they had assault rifles like they used to have, they just would have gone to the window and started plinking at them. It would have been at the end of the thing. It never would have happened. Now, this is very mysterious because Israel normally has cameras day and night on the border with people monitoring it, military, sensors to detect people crossing, which have people, supposed to have people monitoring it. And we even have trackers, which are Bedouins, that if they see footprints, they know how to track them, like Apache Indians, so to speak, right? We also have watchtowers, which go up like they're generally wood with staircases, and they got a roof, and they got, a waist high or so wall, and there's open space, and they have binoculars and optics, and they watch for people crossing the border. Very frequently, these posts are manned by women soldiers. Women have to join the military as well as men. Men stay in the military till they're around age 40 in the form of reserves. Women don't. They do their tour of duty and they're done. There's no reserves. The women saw the incursion and they phoned it in. They have weapons, they have assault weapons. Normally, the response time would be something like 7 or 8 minutes. On that day, it turned into 7 or 8 hours. Okay? When they were calling in, they were being laughed at, so to speak. The commanders were saying, no, relax, A lot of these women soldiers and some men soldiers got killed in these outposts, and some got taken hostage back to Gaza. The people that we traded the hostages for a good month or so ago are in heavy psychiatric care. What they went through was horrible. So, when will these women ever bounce back to normal is a good question. If ever. Imagine being locked in cages. We have videos of them locking small children in veterinarian-style cages for dogs. Inside Israel, one of them took an infant and burned it alive in an oven. We found the bones of women and their children that were tied together with wire and burned alive. They decapitated people, they cut genitalia off, and all this other stuff. All right? You people in America don't know what you're dealing with these sleeper agents, and I'm afraid you're going to find out. You don't understand. All right? But I'm getting ahead of myself. So why did all these checks and balances fail? I was sitting outside that morning. It's just my habit. I rise early, like 5 usually. And I was out there in the front yard. It was warm then, still summer weather. And I was going through the news and getting ready for my live stream. And all of a sudden, around 5:30 or something like that, I heard red alerts. We have cell phones that we can queue in to the entire country of Israel, or by region, or combinations thereof. So my phone kept going off non-stop that we were taking fantastically huge rocket barrages. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So I read it, I looked at it, and I said, oh gosh, they started up again. I said, gee, I guess I'm going to put my computer glasses on for making it easy on my eyes, old man eyes. So the rocket barrages are going off nonstop. And I said to myself, well, it's a holiday, maybe it'll take, 15 to 20 minutes or something like that for the jets to get over there. our Iron Dome systems and radar can pinpoint the launch sites and start attacking the launch sites. There was no attack for about 3.5 hours. Now, this happened right after Biden had Netanyahu visited Biden. So do you think there's something up with this? Come on. You're talking about open border Biden. So obviously something's rotten in Denmark. No offense, Denmark, but something's rotten. There's a rat in the woodpile. Many, many, many Israeli military know this. Many, I mean, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and the people in Israel are well aware of it. For some reason, the Israeli people are afraid to change a prime minister during a war because they think it would show weakness to the enemy. But that's an absurd doctrine they have, because I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to change a questionable prime minister during a war. What the world doesn't understand is Satan works against the nations through their leaders. That's the kingpin here that the people don't get. But we here, are not ignorant on this channel of Satan's devices. So now we get into war with Hamas. A few days later, America's coming over here. We'll give you whatever kind of equipment that you want. So they give Netanyahu all these bombs and different things, and Netanyahu's bombing Hamas and Gaza. And then we invade and we call up our reserves, and reserve soldiers from around the world are flying in on their own. And we surround Gaza and we invade Gaza, and we've still been doing it over 100 days now. Have we managed to stop all their missiles? No. We've managed to stop most of them. We're down from Gaza missiles about 90%, but still going on. Contrary to what the media wants to tell you, we still do not have control over many parts of Gaza. Okay? Many parts. We got we had, I don't know now, well in excess of 100,000 soldiers there, well in excess. Okay? Now Biden, every time that guy opens his mouth, we hear two-state solution. He wants us to take the West Bank and give it to the Palestinians, as they like to be called, and they'll go over there and build another Gaza. And the next time they'll attack us from Gaza and the West Bank at the same time. And that's what Biden wants for us. America made us give Gaza back. Netanyahu was in on that one. The curse of Israel, as I refer to him. They made us give Gaza back. Okay? And our own military had to run the people out of Gaza with force. They didn't shoot them or anything. They basically forced them to leave. We gave it to them and they turned it into nothing but a military base. The European Union, the UNWRA, America, England, many countries give millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars a year to Hamas. So they built a 300-mile tunnel network underground. Now the Houthis have this only better. Yemen is 40 million people. Gaza was 2.5 million. The Houthis in Yemen come in at 167,000. Hamas, with the Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the other splinter groups, came in at about 50,000. The Yemen military is on the same side as the Houthis, and they're 35,000. So together they're 200,000 versus 50,000 in Gaza. Yemen is probably, 4 or 5 times bigger than Gaza. What America's doing to Yemen, to get them to stop attacking ships in the Red Sea is farcical. Anybody in Israel knows it's a joke. We've tried that with Hamas 100 days now. Bombings every day, artillery every day, occupying. I tell you the truth, all these bombing runs that America and UK are doing are not going to stop the Houthis. They will damage them. That's all. Okay? Not significantly either, because they're not getting them in their underground bunkers and their underground tunnels, of which they have a lot of. And anybody in the Pentagon knows this. But they're doing it to go through the motions, make it look good, see if they can get them to stop. And now they're raising more coalition partners to come down. And the way this is going to end is a ground invasion. That's it. Okay? A ground invasion would, 100,000 would be weak, 250,000 would be borderline. They can enter by land from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia being a Sunni country and Yemen Shiite, they don't get along. The Shiite countries are Iraq, Syria, which is a weird spin-off type. It's not exactly Shiite, but they get along. So you've got Iraq, you've got Syria, you've got Iran, you have Gaza, and you have Lebanon to a limited extent. Lebanon has a lot of Catholics and Christians and Hindus and other things. Hezbollah tends to run Lebanon, although they used to come in with their reserves at about 50,000. The high estimate is 100,000. I would say they're at about 75,000. Okay? They brag about 150 to 250,000 missiles and rockets. Israel's not behaving like that's a real estimate of their firepower. They have some Navy vessels, but it's, believe me, immature and nothing serious. And they have Hezbollah has no air force. Lebanon has the Navy, not Hezbollah. And they have a few tanks, a few dozen maybe, nothing, the old tanks. They take pickup trucks and they rivet a plate in the bed of the pickup and they mount a 50 caliber on that, and it's called a technical, and they use those. They are running around with a quite large amount of shoulder-fired anti-tank missiles that are coming from either Russia and or Iran, mostly Iran. And they shoot those over the border from Lebanon into Israel at the soldiers' houses and targets. Now, one thing you never get from the media is this. You could have 75 million rockets, but how many launchers do you have? That's the key. Now, they're more sophisticated rockets, which could hit Tel Aviv and Haifa, are put on a truck. Now, it's like a lowboy bed of the truck, like a tractor-trailer size, and it has a regular tractor-trailer cab. And it has one launcher on it. And the truck has a generator for electricity to launch the missiles and so forth, aim them. And so they get out of the truck, they set up their equipment, and it has some radar on it. And they punch the coordinates in, and then they fire the missile, probably at a distance of 50 or 100 feet, in case something goes wrong, and then the flames come out of the missiles and so forth. Then after you're finished firing that missile, you have, and these are big missiles, you don't pick them up, 2 or 3 guys don't carry it. You got to use a crane, and you got to have another truck that stores the missile, that stores extra missiles. And I guess the time to load the new missile onto the truck is probably going to be close to a half hour. Now, these trucks with a lowboy body on the back or a trailer that's lowboy ain't going, driving through the bramble bush. The thing will just get stuck. So it needs a road. It needs at least a dirt road that's dry. It needs a gravel road or a blacktop or a concrete road. So when they launch a missile, we get the coordinates immediately. And then we can do a number of things. We can shoot, if it's close to our border, we have radar-controlled artillery that's quite effective. We can shoot artillery at it, lay a barrage of 8 or 10 shells at the area, and disable it. It wouldn't survive an artillery shell unless we hit an inert part of the rig. But I mean, that's why we would shoot, probably 8 or 10 shells at it. Shells are cheap, Our artillery, the 155 millimeter, is generally set to go up to about 14 or 15 miles. While you can get special shells for these artillery pieces to go 25 miles, we normally are just working up to 15 miles. And we have a lot of mobile artillery, and we have a lot of towed artillery. We can also fire surface-to-surface missiles at it. We can also use our Delilah missiles, which is an anti-missile system that we have used in Syria. It picks up the radar beam. So to get the missile aimed, they got to turn their radar on. And when the radar goes on, it's sending a signal. And we pick it up, and then we launch our Delilahs, which are cruise missiles. They're going to travel at about 550 miles an hour, follow the radar beam, and blow it up. If they shut their radar off, they can't guide the missile, and they're pretty much inert. So we have the capability of blowing up their missile launches. They do a launch, then they got to get out of there. So they got to pack up. They got equipment on the ground, not all on the truck. Well, let's assume it's all mounted on the truck. So then the guys got to get in the truck got to start up, and we got to get out of there. They got to get out of there before the incoming blows it up. But they're easily tracked. Our planes can track them. We have hundreds of fighter jets. We're probably in the league of about 300 to 350. And a lot of very modern F-16s, and we have approximately, it could be higher, but I would say about 50 F-35s. Now, we modify these F-30, and then there's another 25 or so on the way. We might have 60, I don't know. We modify them, we retrofit them. We're the only country in America that's retrofit them, so we have excellent F-35s. Our F-16s are also effective. There's no anti-aircraft systems in Lebanon that we cannot just evade. We have been flying runs over Beirut and Tripoli in the last 3 days and breaking the sound barrier, if you know what that sounds like. It rattles the windows and the doors, and dropping flares as a signal to them about what's going to happen. Just basically they're going to get bombed to smithereens. Okay? So America at the beginning said they were going to take care of Lebanon for us. They said if anybody opens up a second front, they're going to take care of it. Did they do anything with Lebanon? Absolutely not. Nothing. Their position's going to be, well, they didn't really open up a second front. They're just shooting missiles at your border. So 80,000 Israelis had to evacuate the border areas from like Kiryat Shmona, Metula, and other small cities and villages. And they're in hotels, which the government is paying for. There's a similar amount, although I think it's somewhat higher, of people that had to evacuate south of the areas near Gaza in the south of Israel. I believe it could be over 120 or 120,000. And they're also in hotels at government expense. Biden pressured Netanyahu to slow down the war. He keeps pressuring them to not kill civilians. So the war is slowed down. There's a big movement in Israel to get rid of Netanyahu finally, but it so far hasn't gotten teeth. Okay? We've lost a few hundred soldiers and several hundred have been wounded. It's a very low casualty rate. In Israel, the commanding officer leads charges. In other words, the colonel doesn't sit, 1 or 2 miles behind the battle line in a tent and smoke cigars and drink coffee and tell everybody what to do. He goes front, in front of the troops. So you don't get many casualties. Now, colonels are not normally going to go, but lieutenants and captains will go in front of the platoon. So we have our army with reserves deployed at the Lebanon border and deployed around Gaza. And Netanyahu's keep telling us to do a two-state solution, which is tantamount to the destruction of Israel. Any jackass knows that we did something like that with Gaza, and they turned it into a military base, and by their own words, they're trying to annihilate us. They admit it. They're also saying that they have every intention of continuing the October 7th attacks on Israel again. And there's a lot of worry that it might happen up in Lebanon as well. So we have a lot of soldiers up there, and I don't think there's any significant possibility of these lunatics coming in over the border, even using paragliders, which they did in Gaza. Too many soldiers there, they'd shoot it down. They have motorcycles and they threaten to come in on motorcycles, yeah, but we have tanks, mobile artillery, armored Humvees, and armored personnel carriers, and we have Apache helicopters and lots of jets, and it's not a realistic situation. In Gaza, our guard was down, which is of course very suspicious. In Lebanon, our guard is up. So I don't think it's a serious threat. Okay? Now, I'm showing you this to get you to get the idea that Biden was complicit in this October 7th thing. And that's the point of this. Now, if you don't realize that at the present time, all the nations are run by people serving Satan, I can't help you. You have to come to that realization. You're not going to get there by looking at their words or listening to what they say. You've got to look at their actions. At the present time, all the nations of the world are against Israel. But why did Biden give Israel weapons? They're creating a snare for Israel to start fights. With their neighbors. They had this attack that was vicious to get Israel mad. Then Lebanon opened up and the Houthis opened up. Syria is a little bit afraid of us, and Iraq doesn't have a border with us. And Iran is running the show. The Houthis have succeeded in stopping shipping in the Red Sea, which is about 11% of the maritime traffic. Israel started doing started moving cargo. I'll clear in a second. Started moving cargo by land. The way this works is a ship docks at Haifa and they offload their cargo. The container ships, they put it on trucks and they take it to Jordan and then Saudi Arabia and over to the UAE, and they ship it out of the UAE. It's rather fast. And it bypasses the Houthis. HAPAG, Hapag, the big maritime shipping company, is doing this now. So it wound up putting a lot of money in Israel's pockets. Israel charges a fee to dock at Haifa. Then they got to offload the containers, load them on trucks, and run them over. So, and vice versa with the UAE. So we're actually making money. So the Houthis are all screwed up on that one. Leave it to God, huh? So you're going to see a land invasion in Yemen. And then you're going to see one in Iran, I think. Now, America is all screwed up. The Chinese are waiting to pounce on Taiwan. North Korea is waiting to pounce on South Korea. America is deploying a substantial number of warships, troops, and planes to the Pacific region, thus weakening America. There's less military in America to defend America. With the war in Ukraine, America has depleted its military backup supplies of equipment by giving it to Ukraine, and they did a similar thing with Israel just now. That weakens America further. When they give up on bombing the Houthis, realizing, eventually, the Pentagon knows it's not going to work. But when everybody realizes it's not working, them and their coalition partners are going to do a ground invasion. But America's going to come up with the lion's share of the troops. The Houthis will most likely attack Saudi Arabia oil refineries to shut down production and cause a noticeably substantial spike in oil prices in the futures market. Iran is beginning to interdict ships in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman, which is where the Persian Gulf dumps out to. And then if you continue further east towards India, they're also attacking ships in the Indian Ocean, which has Modi of India mad as a hatter, and he sent a total of 12 warships down to the Red Sea. I don't know if they're all here yet, but I believe 2 of them are. And the ships that are here now are loaded with Indian Army commandos, like Green Berets, Navy SEALs, just the recon Marines, that could land in Yemen. So he's really mad. And Modi, you start cutting off his money supply, he's going to get very upset, and he is. Iran will continue interdicting ships to suck America in deeper and have America bring more warships to the Persian Gulf, more troops. What you probably don't know, in the Arab countries like Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan, and Oman, America has currently 58,000 American troops. In Israel, maybe they got 100 that are advisors and stuff, that if that. Nobody sees American troops on the streets or walking around. They don't have anything in here. They're not out to protect Israel. They're using Israel to work the snare that Biden's put on America. Think open borders. Okay? Biden very recently, in late December, released $10 billion of sanction money, that Iranian sanction money that was frozen. He gave it back to him, $10 billion. I have videos attesting to this on my Telegram channel. Does that sound like Biden is not working with Iran? Who wants to see America get destroyed without going into the Bible? Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. Why? They've been devastated by American sanctions. It's wrecked their countries. Their currency is devalued greatly. They're in bad economic shape. If they don't submit to America, they, over time, are going to get worse and worse. And you'll have civil war and everything else in these countries. When the people can't eat, Johnny grabs his gun. Okay? When the government violates the Constitution, in America, Johnny does not grab his gun. The government has been wiping their feet on the Constitution heavily since 1913 with the Federal Reserve Bank, which is privately owned, and the government borrows money from the Federal Reserve, who prints it on printing presses. The federal government prints it for them. And then the federal government actually pays money to the Federal Reserve Bank, and it's illegal to know who owns it, and they don't have to pay taxes on this revenue. Now, that sounds constitutional to you? Not to me. Okay? I am getting estimates as high as 11 and 12 million of these, what they call illegals, that come in illegally and then check in with Border Patrol and file for amnesty, get a court date that's currently running about 2031, the year 2031. And they're legitimate then. And now I'm hearing that the airlines don't require identification from these people. People are saying, I don't know how true it is, that these people can buy guns without going through the criminal background records check, just by showing their amnesty papers. I don't know how true that is. Police departments are hiring them and arming them. Will Biden put them in the American military? I don't know. I doubt it. They don't speak English. It wouldn't fit in. Fox News had a thing yesterday, I think, where they were interviewing migrants that recently crossed the border into America without getting visas. And they were sitting there telling the news reporter, "You don't know who I am, but you soon will. You're stupid." Oh, he's a sleeper. They estimate 70% of these illegals that get amnesty are military age males. They've interviewed some who said they were in militaries in other countries. They look from people tell me they look pretty, virile. They look like they're in shape. There's been Muslim training camps in America for 30 years, 40 years, who knows? Let me tell you what you don't understand. And I don't mean to be prideful. Hamas made thousands and thousands and thousands of missiles and rockets in underground bunkers. Okay? If you think these migrants can't make missiles and rockets in America where they have the ability to work above ground, set up dummy companies, get a warehouse, and go into production, you're kidding yourself. Biden is interested in destroying Israel. He's also interested in destroying America. To go into Bible prophecy of this, would have to go to Revelation 17 with the beast with the 10 horns. The 10 horns are likely the BRIC countries. And the whore in Revelation 17 is that great city, which is Washington, District of Columbia. That's what it stands for. Okay? Now, it's not part of America, as you would know it, because it's not in any of the 50 states. Okay? So it is a city that runs the country. Let me show you something. I'll be another second. I want to get a good picture here for you. This is the Columbia Motion Pictures icon. It's a woman that happens to be flat-chested. Figured that one out. It's not hard. Holding the light, come to the light, on a pedestal, as if she's some holy thing. Now, that's the Statue of Liberty. Let's look. Now remember, the Columbia Motion Pictures icon is Columbia. District of Columbia. That's what runs America. Here's your Statue of Liberty, a flat-chested woman holding the light on a pedestal. Now, those, I guess you would call them pillars on the base of that, that makes it out to be a temple. It's a temple. Now, let me show you a Roman temple and a Greek temple to make my point. In a temple, you worship a god, in this case, a false god. This is what a Roman temple looks like. And note at the top there's a triangle. It's called the Typhium. Okay? Note that. Okay, that's a Roman temple. The pillars. Now let's look at a Greek temple. Here's the ruins of a Greek temple. Same thing with the pillars and the Tiffium, the triangle piece in the front. Now, I want to shock you. Here's the United States Supreme Court. You see anything that looks familiar? Pillars, Tiffium at the top, with graven images, three-dimensional images up there of who the heck knows who those things are. The Supreme Court just came out with a ruling that Biden can remove the fences that Governor Abbott of Texas put up to stop his state from being invaded by these, what we call migrants. People coming in without a visa to come in properly. Now, the Constitution says the Fed has to protect the states from invasion. Biden is not protecting Texas. He's aiding and assisting these invading migrants to come into Texas. Abbott went down right after the Supreme Court gave this ruling, which is absurd, and doubled down, as they say, and put more razor ribbon and concertina wire up on the border. Now we're all waiting to see what Biden's going to do. If Biden ignores Texas not complying, then he's shown extremely weak, and other states will take suit and stop this crisis. What can Biden do? He can order Border Patrol to go in and dismantle the fences, but the Texas National Guard is there and they won't let them. Plus the state police from Texas are there and they're not going to let them. So that's not going to happen, okay? Arkansas sent some of their National Guard to back up Texas. Okay? Now, people are saying they're headed towards a civil war in America. They're right. What I'm going to do now is show you this in Bible prophecy and show you how it ends. And I'm going to show you the futility and the foolishness of these people collecting survival supplies and buying lots of guns and ammo. It's not going to happen with the guns. It's not heavily going to be what's going to happen. It's going to be destruction by fire. And that's what they did to us in Gaza. If you want to be smart, you'll learn what they did to us in Gaza, because it's the same radical, crazy Muslims, as I'm going to show you in the Bible, that are doing this. So now we're going to go to the Bible, but let me check into the chat. Someone says that, I think what they're trying to express is that these people in America, many of them, don't want this going on. And I know that. And you know what? God knows that. And that's why I'm going to show you what's going to happen. And you're going to get out. Okay? Now we're going to go to the Bible, and I'm going to show you some things. And it's going to be an eye-opener, I think. But again, I want to reiterate, I lived here many years. I'm from America originally. I was a cop in America. Well, deputy sheriff. I was extremely briefly a Fed. Extremely briefly, not even worth talking about. I worked for other agencies, and I worked in government agencies. And I worked for um, private security, and I know people that years ago were highly placed in the FBI, and I met people with the CIA, and this type of thing. And I was a reserve cop in Israel many years ago when I was younger. So I have no military experience, but I'm not exactly a neophyte either. In my day, we didn't have bulletproof vests and we used revolvers. Okay? I'm an old guy. Okay? All right. I'm going to take us to the Bible now, and I'm going to show you the fit between what's happening in America now and Bible prophecy for America. America is the daughter of Babylon, and I'll be building this up. It starts now. If you don't believe in God and you don't believe in the Bible, then you're going to have trouble with this. Okay, the word that Jehovah spake, what I think they're going to try to do in Israel. It looks like there's a peace deal coming with Gaza. The latest version I had is they're going to give us, we're going to do a 30-day ceasefire, not permanent. They're going to return the hostages to us probably every week. But they haven't given us a name of the living hostages, nor have they given us a count, nor have they let the Red Cross see them or talk to them or medical treat them. And we arranged through Cater to bring medicines basically, into Gaza to give to the hostages. And we have no idea if they ever got them. Now, they're screaming about humanitarian aid. Let me tell you very quickly what's going on. Every day, convoys of trucks are coming into Israel, generally from Rafah crossing in Egypt. And the Gazan civilians are attacking the trucks to pull the water and the food off it. Because by the time the trucks and Hamas has even shot at them for doing this. By the time they reach Hamas, who is the governing authority officially in Gaza, they're not a de facto governing authority. They're a de jure. They're a legit government. They're a legit government, basically. Okay. They have Hamas police and courts, all this nonsense. Shia, they got the Currrent law, Sharia law, and all this. Okay, so Hamas confiscates all the food, cooking fuel, regular fuel, and water. And they hoard it. And they take some amount of it and they give it to their friends that have stores, and they sell it to the civilians for exaggerated prices. So they get it for free and then sell it to the civilians. The other thing I need to tell you is this. There's a thing called Palestinian Authority. They sort of run the West Bank, and they're based out of Ramallah. And they're run by some moron named Mahmoud Abbas, who hasn't stood for an election, I think, in 14 years. He's in his 85, 88 years old. He's firing on, maybe if he's an 8-cylinder engine, he's firing on 5 or 6 cylinders, okay? He has health issues and stuff like that. He runs a thing that we call slave for pay. He gives money to the families of every terrorist that gets killed for as long as he is able, to the tune of about $1,025 a month, which is a lot of money in Gaza. It would be like you getting a pension of about $3,000 or $4,000 a month in America, okay? And if they're in jail for terrorist activities, he gives the family the same amount of money for as long as they're in jail. We confiscated some of their tax revenue. That we figured out how much they were paying for this slave for pay. That this is Murder Incorporated. This is Al Capone and Frank Nitti. Okay? They go out, I mean, I'm making a joke, of course. A terrorist kills a baby, a woman, an old man, an old woman, whatever, right? And then he gets all this money. So he's a hero to his family. If he's dead, they run him up to heaven with 70 virgins as a martyr. If he's not dead, he goes to jail. And his family's got plenty of money to eat and buy clothes and so forth. You listening? Okay. This is Netanyahu's buddy. The curse of Israel, as I refer to Netanyahu as. Okay. So we siphoned off about 10% of their money, which is what we figure he's paying, because we collect tax revenue, which is supposed to go to him. So we siphoned it off and told him to knock it off with the payments. He wouldn't do it. So when we took 20% of the money away, then we finally froze all his money. What happened? The EU came along and gave him $200 million, and Blinken from Biden's administration came over and gave him $50 million so he can continue the Slave for Pay program. You have to understand, this is America doing this. You have to understand that. If you don't, you're in the dark. You got it? Okay. The word that the Lord spoke against Babylon. Now, the word in the Hebrew is not Babylon, it's Babel, and it means confusion. And I'll develop what Babylon is as we go. And against the land of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans lived in old Babylon, and they were soothsayers, like they'd re-deliver the stars, witchcraft stuff, fortune telling, that kind of thing, by Jeremiah the prophet. Now, when declare you among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Now, Jeremiah was in the Babylonian captivity, if my memory serves me right, and I believe it does. Set up a standard, that's a sign. Publish and conceal not, say, Babylon is taken. Taken means captured. Remember that, captured. Bel, now that's one of the demons they worshipped in Babylon. Remember I showed you the temples that they use? Let me give you another one or two pictures to make my point, okay? Hang on a second, it's not going to take long. I'm just looking for a good picture here. Here we go. As a kid, I worked in the New York Stock Exchange for a summer job because I was attending my first 2 years of undergraduate school, walking distance from there, and they gave us summer jobs, so I worked as a runner on the floor of the Stock Exchange, number 11 Wall Street. Here's a picture of the Stock Exchange. It's a Roman temple, the Tiffium with graven images up there. Same thing as the Supreme Court. Do you think money's their God? As a figure of speech only. Well, let me give you one other one. A real good one. You hear about Epstein and pedophilia and all this stuff, right? Okay. Just a second, I'll have it up for you. This is the Boy Scouts of America National Statue in Washington, D.C., coming out of Wikipedia. Now, what do we see here? We see a relatively unattractive woman that's flat-chested, and we see a virile man walking around with his son undressed, and the kid in a Boy Scout or Cub Scout uniform. Now, what kind of man would walk around like that in front of his kid? That's currently erected in Washington, D.C., and it's the Boy Scouts of America big national monument, this statue. What does this tell you? I'm going to take a fast break. I'll be right back. think about all the pedophilia in America, Mad upon their images. By the way, if you hear snoring coming through on the mic, it's my little dogs. One of them's an old guy, and they're in here in the room with me, and they're sleeping, and he starts snoring sometimes. It's not me snoring. He's a good guy. He's old. I like him. He likes me. All right. Jeremiah 52, declare ye among the nations, that's the word, it really means the heathen. In Bible speak, there was Israel and the heathen, because God was only working with Israel. So that's where that comes from. And publish and set up a standard, publish and conceal not, say Babylon or Babel is taken, that's captured. Bel is confounded, that's one of the old Babylon's idols. Merodach, that's another one, is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces. What do the Muslims do? They break these images, these graven images, because the Current tells them not to have them. So would Russian and Chinese soldiers worry about breaking statues and images? No. With the Muslims, yes. For out of the north, now, when it says the north, I used to think it was Canada, but I think he's really referencing north of Israel. And we'll develop this for you soon. There cometh, what nations it is, there cometh a nation against her which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. So people are going to be leaving before the wipeout, which is going to happen real soon. Not many months, maybe days or weeks. Okay? And the beast is probably going to be the pets. I don't know. In those days and in that time, saith Jehovah, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together. Now, the children of Israel is the 10 lost tribes, many of whom are in America, probably North American Indians. And Judah are more or less the known Jews, 6.5 million in America. In those days and in that time, so when this attack happens on America, this is the second Exodus. This is the harvest in Matthew 13. The tares and the wheat. They and the children of Judah together, so the lost tribes are no longer lost. God wakes them up. And weeping, they shall go and seek the Lord their God. They shall ask the way to Zion, which is Israel, with their faces thitherward, that's towards the east from America, saying, Come and let us join ourselves to Jehovah in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. My people hath been lost sheep, those are your 10 tribes. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. That's Israel. They don't even know who they are. All that found them have devoured them. Well, we've been expelled out of so many countries over history, holocausts, massacres, property confiscation. Their adversaries said, we offend not because they have sinned against Jehovah, the habitation of justice, even Jehovah, the hope of their fathers. Hosea 6:1 and 2 explains that when they killed Yeshua through the Romans, God punishes them for 2,000 years. This is in Hosea 6, chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. If I keep reading all these verses, we'll be here for 10 hours. Too long. So Hosea 6:1 and 2 explains that it says 2 days. A day is like 1,000 years to the Lord. It's not a 48-hour punishment. It's 2,000 years. And it's up. Remove out of, or it's shortly going to be up, remove out of the midst of Babel and go forth out of the Chaldeans and be, now the Chaldeans were basically witches. Do you think Hollywood and the music industry and the government are occupied by witches? Do you think the corporations are run by witches? And be as Satanists, and be as he-goats before the flocks. He's telling that to the Israelites. So the goats are, more bullying than the sheep. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babel an assembly of great nations from the northern country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, captured. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. So if you think these jackasses can't shoot, they can. We've got one of the best armies in the world, and they kill our soldiers too. None shall return in vain, and Chaldea shall be a spoil. That's another name for Babylon. Be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Jehovah. So they're going to loot, pillage, and plunder the place. These are poor people coming in. We'll get to the point where I'll show you what countries mostly. They're poor people coming in, and they're going to loot the rich people's houses and the not so rich people's houses. They'll hit the museums and things like that. They're not going to hit the banks. They'll hit the safe deposit boxes, but what are they going to do with the paper money? It's worthless. Because you were glad, because you rejoiced, O you destroyers of my heritage, because you were grown fat as the heifer at grass and bellow as bulls. Biden is trying to destroy Israel now, and this is the final straw for America. God lets their iniquity or their lawlessness go to the fullest, and then he punishes them to the fullest. And Biden is actively working to wreck America. What he's trying to do now is he wants the Hamas people to remain in charge of Gaza. Him and the European Union, everyone else will give billions of dollars to them to rebuild Gaza. Much of it will wind up in the pockets of Hamas, and they'll rebuild their military tunnels and missile inventory and everything else and try to kill Israel again. And that's what Biden's trying to do. Nothing but. A two-state solution is moronic. A sixth grader can realize how stupid that is. Your mother shall be sore confounded. Now this is the thing that people don't get. The spirit running America, that woman, Columbia, is the same spirit. By the way, she's also on the roof of the Capitol building, by the way. It's the same spirit that was in old Babylon, which is near what we call Iraq today. But it's never been desolated or devastated or ruined, as you'll see. People still live there. So it's not talking about that. It's talking about America, as you soon see more and more clues. So this is the same spirit running America, and that's referred to as the whore of Babylon in Revelation 17. Okay. Your mother shall be sore confounded. Now, the beast comes up out of the pit in Revelation 9, the pit opens and so forth. And in Revelation 13, we see the beast come out. Apostle John is standing on the sand by the shore. Well, it says by the shore. Watches the beast come up. Well, the pit is probably down in the center of the earth, and he happens to come up through the ocean. Now, the beast is not a regular human, let's put it that way, okay? When it says he has claws like a leopard and a mouth like a bear, that's allegorical to describe how he operates, but he's not a regular mortal coming up like that. And Satan, it says in Revelation 13, verse 2, Satan gives the beast his seat, his power and authority. So Satan gets along with the beast. Satan's not happy with what America is doing. Look where Israel is today. He's scared to death about Israel. So he's, his kingdom's going to be destroyed. So he wants to get rid of Israel. So he's mad at the daughter of Babylon because they were the ones in charge. America was in charge of the earth, and everything is not functioning smoothly at all. There's so much friction among the nations. So he's bringing the beast up, or he's going to get, the beast is going to come up. God lets it happen. And the beast has 10 horns, which are 10 kings, which burn her and eat her flesh. So there's going to be fire and eating her flesh. I know what these Muslim terrorists did in Gaza. There was no report of them going into cannibalism. But believe me, they're capable. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations. America is the most recent of the nations. That's what hindermost means. God only has 70 nations in the Bible. They're the most recent. The old-time Babylon has been around for many millennia. It's the millennia ago. And it shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of Jehovah, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly or entirely, we would say, desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babel shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. See, he's going to show he's Jehovah, because he's about to restore or redeem Israel. He's going to destroy the most powerful nation in the world, like he did with Moses and Aaron with Egypt. This time he's going to use the two witnesses, Elijah and Apostle John. And they're in Israel now. They're waiting for the light to go green, believe me. Put yourselves against Babylon round about, all that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against Jehovah. They do not want to see Israel become the head of the nations and God run the world through Israel, which is the whole Bible prophecy stuff. They don't want to see that. They want to keep Satan in charge with their corruption and their immorality and their booze and all that. Okay. Hath given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of Jehovah. This is the day of vengeance, her visitation. Take vengeance upon her, and as she hath done, do to her. Well, she stabbed Israel in the back many times. They made us give the Sinai Peninsula back that we took in war. They made us give Gaza back. Now they want us to give the West Bank back. I mean, come on. Cut off the sower from Babel, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest. For fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn every one to his people, and they shall flee every one to his own land. When you see the ruler fighting ruler in America, which you're beginning to see now with Governor Abbott of Texas and Biden, the Fed, this is the beginning of this. They're going to go back to the countries they came from. This is talking about the agricultural workers, the people from Central South America and stuff that work in factories and this type of thing. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First the king of Assyria hath devoured him. And last this Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babel, hath broken his bones. Now, let me explain what this is saying. The old Babylon was run by Nebuchadrezzar, a king. When he says this Babylon, it's Biden. This Nebuchadrezzar, it's Biden. Broken his bones, October 7th, and many other things they did to us over history. You can check this in Google. In 1948, when Israel was a nation, and everybody knew the Arab states surrounding us were going to attack us, the United Nations and America put an arms embargo on Israel and the Arabs. Russia openly sold weapons to the Arab states. Nobody did anything about it. And Israel couldn't buy weapons. Nobody would sell it to them except Czechoslovakia, which sold them old, busted up World War II weapons that they rehabbed. And they won. In 67 we won. In 73 we won. In 2006 against Lebanon we won. They gave up on trying to have the Arabs kill us because God kept rescuing Israel. So they reverted to having Israel turn against God by giving the land back that he gave them. And that's what they're continuing to try to do. But they're losing confidence. Satan's mad. Satan's scared. Satan's going to have them attack us. That's going on right now. And last, this Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, hath broken his bones. Is this just October 7th? Or does it get worse? Probably it's going to get worse. Therefore, thus saith Jehovah of armies. It's not hosts, it's armies. The God of Israel. Behold, he refers to himself as the God of Israel, not the God of the churches. Behold, I will punish the king of Babylon and his land, as I have punished the king of Assyria. And I will bring Israel again to his habitation. That's the 10 tribes. And he shall feed on Carmel. That's a small mountain near Haifa. It's not very high. And Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim. That's West Bank. And Gilead by Jordan, West Bank. In those days and in that time, saith Jehovah, the lawlessness or the iniquity of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none. And the sins of Judah, and they shall be none, and shall none be found. For I will pardon them whom I reserve. He's saying he's going to redeem us. And the churches tell you, well, when Israel turns to the Lord, he turns us to him. That's what happens. Go up against the land of Merathaim. That's another image, demon from Babylon. Even against it, against the inhabitants of Pekod. Again, another name for Babylon. Waste and utterly destroy after them, saith the Lord, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. So he's the one getting them to attack America, Jehovah. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. So there will be a battle. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? If America's not the hammer of the whole earth, who the heck is? And broken, how is Babel become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee. Jehovah, Father God Jehovah, laid a snare for America. You can't understand this. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken. O Babel, and thou wast not aware, thou art found, and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. Oh, these liars run around and say they're Christians, they take presidential oaths on the Bible. I mean, come on, it's nonsense. Jehovah hath opened his armory, and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of Adonai Jehovah of armies in the land of the Chaldeans. Come against her from the utmost border. Open up now. The utmost border, what is that? Alaska, probably. China, Russia, and North Korea could easily go over to Bering Straits, 40 something miles. Sometimes it's frozen solid and they could just drive over or walk over. But it's a very brief trip. It's probably 2 hours by boat. Get into Alaska, drop down through Canada, and there you go. And what about Trudeau? You think he won't side with Iran and China and Russia? Of course he will. He's already been years ago letting Chinese troops train in his country. There's videos of it. Come against her from the utmost border. Open her storehouses, cast her out as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Slay all her bullocks. Now, he's not talking about the animal. He said the bullock, I was a kid in New York, in the Bronx. We called the detectives bulls. The bullocks, I believe he's referencing the police and federal agents. Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. God doesn't do visitations on livestock animals, okay? The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babel, to declare in Zion, that's Israel, the vengeance of Jehovah Elohim, the vengeance of his temple. Because the original Babylonians burned the temple, stole all the good stuff out of it and all this. And it's the same demon spirits that were in the original Babylon that are running America. That's what the explanation is. Call together the archers against Babel. Now, he's depicting the fighting and the weapons in terms of old Roman era weapons, because he couldn't say, call together the tanks, armored personnel carriers, attack helicopters, destroyers. People wouldn't know what he's talking about. Call together the archers against Babel, all ye that bend the bow. Camp against it round about. So it's surrounded. Let none thereof escape. When it gets to this point, nobody gets out alive. Recompense her, that's giving us a clue that that's the year of recompenses, which we're in now. Started around August 1st, give or take a few days. Recompense her according to her work. Now the day of vengeance is tied to the year of recompenses, and you see it here too. And he's talking about what he's doing to Babylon as vengeance. According to all that she hath done, do unto her. Well, she set Israel up to get attacked by the Muslim terrorists. That's going to happen to her. She hath done do unto her. For she hath been proud against Jehovah, against the Holy One of Israel. I'm going to change the intensity of my screen a little bit here. It's too bright. I lost my place. Let me see where I was. Therefore shall her young men fall in the street, and all her men of war shall be cut off. The entire military is going to die. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith Adonai Jehovah of armies, for thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee, and the most proud shall stumble and fall. Those are the Satanists that think they got the world by a string, And none shall raise him up, and I will kindle, listen to this is Jehovah talking, kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him. The real destruction there is going to come by fire. People buy guns, MREs, stuff like that. Do they buy fire extinguishers? No. They're ill prepared. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. This is in past tense. I don't necessarily think this is going to happen in America, but it might. They might take all the true Bible believers and the Israelites, Judah, and so forth, and keep them there so they don't go to Israel, which is what Pharaoh was doing with the children of Israel, not letting them go to the wilderness to worship their God. Their Redeemer is strong. That gives you a clue about the year of redemption. The year of redemption and year of recompenses overlap. Is his name, he shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land. That's Haaretz, the land of Israel, and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. They're waking up at a pretty surprising pace now, and they're being made aware of the problems with the Biden administration, but nobody yet, except for Abbott, is offering a solution. When you see leaders emerge and solutions, which are going to have to be violent, then you know you're getting there. That's not far off. Let me be right back for a quick break. Gotta step over the dogs. They're Pekingese, they're little. Yeah, my dog Chief is snoring. Okay. Jeremiah 51. Now it's going to get good. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babel and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind. You know, all the immorality in America and all that. Come on, rise up against him. Graven images. And I will send unto Babel fanners, that shall fan her and shall empty her land. For it is the day of trouble. They shall be against her round about. They're going to take the spoils out. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigadine. That's like a military uniform. And spare ye not her young men, destroy you utterly all her army. Host his army. They're all going to go. Now, how are they going to go? I'll tell you how they're going to go. The way I see it. These illegal sleepers, agents, the Trojan horses, are going to hit the military bases. The military bases in America are virtually undefended. They got military police, Department of Defense police, so you might have a very large base. And on a shift, you got 20, 30, 40 guys with pistols protecting the base. 3,000 or 4,000 of these guys come in, or 10 or 12,000 armed. They're going to take them out. The soldiers don't have weapons on the bases unless they're training. They don't have weapons. They can't carry personal weapons onto the base, and they're not going to be walking around with weapons. They're going to be sitting ducks. They'll probably simultaneously overrun every base. They're going to rape the women soldiers incessantly, probably till they're dead. They'll rape the men soldiers too, and they'll kill them. They'll take their rings and their jewelry and any valuables they have. Thus, the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God. God punished us. He never got rid of us. And the punishment's over. Now our enemies are getting rid of. He's getting rid of our enemies. Nor Judah of his God of Jehovah of armies, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance, the day of vengeance, year of recompenses, year of redemption. It's all tied together. He will render unto her a recompense, a payback. The true believers and the Israelites are going to leave the daughter of Babylon, and they're going to stop in the wilderness on their way to Israel. This is called the second Exodus. Read Jeremiah 16, Jeremiah chapter 16, Jeremiah 23, and Ezekiel chapters 20, starting in verse 33 to the end. And you'll be well versed on the second Exodus. It's coming real soon. Okay? Just because they go to church, don't think they're coming to Israel, believe me. I'm in Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Remember when they went to Japan, they conquered Japan, MacArthur was the supreme commander. He didn't punish Japan. He pulled Japan spiritually under America, got them involved with the American demons, and then they started blessing Japan. What do you think they did? Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Remember, it happened suddenly, and you're due any minute now for this to break loose. First, you're going to see, I'm going to show you, you're going to see ruler against ruler, which you're seeing right now with Abbott against the Fed. And the governor of Arkansas sent some of his National Guard over to Texas. So there's going to probably be succession. Abbott is defying the Supreme Court. So he is aware, or he's part of the snare, I don't know. He's aware that Biden's selling out America, and he doesn't want Texas to go down. The only way he's really going to get out of it is to succeed. Biden will never let him succeed, but he won't ask Biden. Their legislature will pass a succession bill. He'll sign it. They'll put America on notice and say they'll attack any American law enforcement or soldiers that come into Texas. Other states will succeed too, and they'll have to form a network where they have a border on the ocean. That's how it'll probably work. Biden wants this because it's going to weaken America. But then the sleeper agents can go to work better. But before the sleeper agents are hitting the American bases, he's probably, I don't know for sure, but he's probably going to entrench American military in the Middle East badly with large numbers, the Houthis, maybe Lebanon and Iran, and move the American resources, military resources, soldiers and equipment out of America into the Middle East. Then the American soldiers can't do anything to stop Biden. They would have no way of getting there. He's got to be very careful the American military doesn't rise up against him. Very careful. Made all the earth drunken, the nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. They are mad, they're nuts. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm, that's like salve, for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted even up to the skies. So there's going to be some type of revolt against the Fed. They're going to try to fix it. It's not going to work. She would not be healed. So the people are told that when they see this, to get out of town, to leave America. The true believers, non-Israelite or Israelite, are going to come to Israel, and all of Israel, the 10 tribes and the 2 tribes, Judah and Levi, are going to come to Israel. Everybody will stop in the wilderness. I think almost everybody anyway. And it says they'll pass under the rod and enter into the bond of the covenant and then come into Israel. And by the time they get into Israel, the Gog and Magog battle is over. Let us go everyone into his own country for her. Okay, we covered that. Now I'm in verse 10, Jeremiah 51:10. Jehovah hath brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Jehovah Elohim. Now the word for righteousness is holiness too. Not exactly that word. Let's see how Strong's puts it into English. Yeah, righteousness. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Jehovah hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. This would be the Median Empire, which it could be parts of Russia, Turkey, Armenia, or Azerbaijan, things like that. For his devices against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of our temple. Again, he references it back. Set up the standard, the sign, upon the wall of Babel. Now, the only wall of America is the Mexican America wall. And I'm being told on social media that the cartels have already dismantled parts of the wall. So you're going to see Mexico invade America too, real soon. And since many of the illegals, most of them are coming through Mexico, Mexico's probably in on it. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babel, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes, for the Lord hath both devised and done. So set up the watchmen on the wall. Well, they're doing that now. What do you think Abbott's doing? Protecting the wall. For the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitant of Babel. O thou that dwellest upon many waters. Now, some say Babylon is Rome, Medina, or Mecca in Saudi Arabia. That's absurd. Dwellest on many waters. The Great Lakes, 8,000 rivers, about that many lakes. The Atlantic, the Pacific, the Gulf of Mexico. I rest my case. What does the Vatican and Rome have? Well, 200 to 300 people live there. That's it. And what do they got for water? Toilets, urinals, a few hundred bottles of holy water, water fountains. Come on, they don't got anything. Mecca and Medina are in the desert. They don't got no water there. Thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures. Thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. There's a lot of wealthy people in America. In, Malibu, Beverly Hills, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Miami, all these country places around the world. There must be 100 or 200 very wealthy cities with millionaires living there. Jehovah of hosts had sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars. That's millions, and they're already there. So the invasion is basically not starting. It's happened past tense. You've already been invaded. 11 or 12 million of these people, 70%. So 7 or 8 million are military-age males. It's happened already. It's not going to happen. It's finished, basically. Biden's putting the finishing touches on it. It's all he's doing. He wants to get more of the military out of America, for one thing. I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapor to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with the rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of the treasures. So if CERN was able to control the weather, God wouldn't be God, because they could override him. So forget CERN. Every man is brutal. Remember, it's destruction by fire. Remember when the Chinese balloons were coming in? And people were saying they could put lasers in there and start fires and stuff like that? Uh-huh. They did stuff like this to us in Gaza, from Gaza. They took like helium balloons, like 10 or 15, tied them together, put a little basket on the bottom. They put some incendiary material in there, like a bottle of kerosene or something like that, right? Or turpentine or gasoline or whatever, and they set a fuse on it. They waited for the wind. They launched it from Gaza into Israel. It floated over. When the fuse burns down, it hits the combustible. A fire starts. The fire sends the heat up, breaks the balloons. It comes down, and it starts fires that burn thousands of acres of our land. Don't underestimate these people. They're dedicated to death. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confronted by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them. That's Israel. He's the father of the founders of the 12 tribes. He is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Jehovah of armies is his name. Thou art my battle axe, speaking to Israel, and weapons of war. For with thee I will break in pieces the nations, and with thee I will destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman, that's the guy that works agriculture and takes care of livestock, and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight. So that means they're going to do evil in Israel that we see this generation now. We've seen some of it, and I think we're going to see more. Saith Jehovah, behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith Jehovah, which destroy all the earth. Oh, that sounds like America. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith Jehovah. Set you up a standard in the land, blow a sign. Blow the trumpet. It's not a trumpet, it's a shofar, a ram's horn. Among the nations, prepare the nations against her. It's a war cry, and call together against her the kingdoms of Arat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. These are the former USSR countries that are referred to as the Stan countries. They're going to be in on this. Russia's going to be in on this. China, North Korea, Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, other Iraqi and Syria militias. Cause the horses to come up as rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. It's going to be many nations coming against America. And the land shall tremble in sorrow. For every purpose of Jehovah shall be performed against Babylon. to make the land of Babylon a desolation. It's going to be wiped out without an inhabitant. The mighty men of Babel have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They're not even going to fight. They're just going to lock themselves up wherever they are. Their might has failed. They became as women. They have burned her. It's going to be fire. They have burned her dwelling places, the houses. So the houses are going to get burned. Her bars are broken. One post, probably the window bars. One post shall run to meet another. One messenger goes to another messenger. And one messenger to meet another to show the king of Babel. That would be Biden, unless it changes. Listen, I've been thinking about this. Biden could write an executive order that enables Obama to run for a third and a fourth term like it used to be before World War II. And the courts would go, the states would go to the Supreme Courts and protest. And then the Supreme Court just says, no, Biden has the authority to do it, it's legal. And then Obama runs again. But I don't think there's enough prophetic time for that. So, one post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babel that his city is taken, Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, at one end. And the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are affrighted, American military. For thus, they're greatly outnumbered, for thus saith Jehovah of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like, remember he says he's the God of Israel. The daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. This is the second Exodus. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel, hath devoured me, he hath crushed me, he hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicacies. He hath cast me out. I think this is a throwback to the old Babylon, because we don't get cast out again. We never leave the land again. It's in the scriptures. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babel, saith the inhabitants of Zion. Say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea, shall Jerusalem say. Therefore thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance for thee. And I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. Not happened yet, but it could happen quickly. It could happen quickly. How, I don't know, but it could happen quickly. And Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, and astonishment, and a hissing without an inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions. They shall yell as lions whelps. In their heat, I will make their feasts, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep. And not wake, saith Jehovah. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter. Lambs don't resist. like rams with the he-goats. How is Sheshach, another name for Babylon, taken? How is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How is Babylon become an astonishment among the Goyim? The sea is come up upon Babylon and is covered, she is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. The whole country is going to get flooded with waves. The survivalists are never going to make it. Maybe they got some air tanks and they could survive for an hour or two or 3 or 4, but that's it. How many of them have air tanks anyway? Nobody, I don't think any. Nobody that stays there is going to make it. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land, a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwelleth. Neither doth any son of man pass thereby. And I will punish Bel in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up. Now, that's probably the people that are trapped, well, blinded in these bad churches in America that don't teach the truth. And the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Well, where do the nations flow together? Well, they all have their embassies in Washington, D.C., don't they? And then they also meet together in New York at the UN. Flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. That's starting to come down already, kids. My people, go you out of the midst of her, and deliver every man his soul from the fierce anger of Jehovah. Well, he tells you, I think, 9 times in Jeremiah 50:51 to get out. And lest your heart faint and you fear, for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor. Now, there's all kinds of rumors in America for a while now, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. That is classically Abbott against Biden. You got to be a ruler. Abbott's a ruler and Biden's a ruler. The governor of Arkansas is in it already. It's coming fast, guys. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babel, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heavens and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babel, for the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, saith Jehovah. They're going to be rejoicing when she's destroyed. As Babel hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, caused us, look what they're doing. Of course they're this America. So at Babel shall fall the slain of all the earth. You that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still, remember the Lord afar, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. I believe this is the sword of, you're not going to escape the final invasion, but it's the sword of the ruler fighting ruler. Civil war, succession, so forth. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our faces. For strangers are come into the sanctuaries of the Lord's house. This could be the next temple, but I don't think so. I think it's the past, when Babylon invaded Israel. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith Jehovah. A sound of a cry come from Babylon, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans, because the Lord hath spoiled Babel, and destroy out of her destroy out of her the great voice, when her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered. Because the spoiler is come upon her, even upon Babel, and her mighty men are taken, every one of their bows is broken. That could mean their weapons are destroyed by the sleeper agents. The military weapons, the tanks, artillery, planes, helicopters. For Jehovah Elohim of recompenses. I'm sorry, it says Jehovah, it says Jehovah El, not Elohim, El of recompenses, year of recompenses, which we're in now, shall surely requite. And I will make drunk her princes and her wise men, her captains, and her rulers and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, saith the King, whose name is the Lord of armies, Jehovah of armies. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, the broad walls of Babel. Now, the broad walls can be interpreted the long walls. They got a few thousand miles of walls, America does, with Mexico. Shall be utterly broken. This has already started. And her high gates shall be burned with fire. And that could be entry gates and things like this. Shall be burned with fire, and the people shall labor in vain. And the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. People in America are getting weary pretty quick. We're weary here. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded, Sariah the son of Neriah, the son of Messiah, not Mashiach, Messiah, it's a different word altogether. When he went with Zedekiah, the king of Judah, into Babel, in the 4th year of his reign, and Survivalists, a quiet prince, so Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that should come upon Babel, even these words that are written against Babel. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, when thou comest in Babel, and shall see and shall read all these words, then shalt thou say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place, to cut it off, that none shall remain, neither man nor beast, that it shall be desolate forever, and shall be when thou hast made an end of the reading of this book, that thou shalt bind a stone to it and cast it into the midst of the Euphrates River. That's in the Middle East, and it runs through like Turkey, Iraq, Syria. And thou shalt say, thus shall Babel sink, and shall not rise, the evil that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. Okay, if you're going to think about this, it's the old Babylon. How did the old Babylon go down? Well, they didn't want to let the Israelites leave and go back to Israel. So God used Cyrus. He raised Cyrus up. Cyrus came, attacked Babylon. They laughed at him because they had enough food to last them years stored upon their walls. Their walls were so broad and thick that they could ride chariots on the walls. Okay? And they counterattacked the ones outside the walls. They were losing. They retreated. Then Cyrus had the soldiers dig that night or the next night, whatever it was, dig 28 tributaries. They had a river going under the wall of Babylon in there so they could have food. So he had his whole army dig tributaries, so they made paths on the side to get the water away before it hit Babylon. So then the river bed was dried up. It might have been muddy. And they walked in it and walked under the wall of Babylon, came into Babylon. The people were sleeping. They didn't know what was going on. They woke up in the morning and their servants were giving them breakfast on their verandas, and they realized they were occupied by an army. And very soon the Americans are going to realize they too are occupied by an army. And that's happened for some months already. Let me see if there's anything in the chat I need to address. My childhood memory, I got a lot of that. Okay, I think we're done. I accomplished what I wanted. You can always go through my other videos in my YouTube channel. It's in the live section, not on the videos. Most of them in the live section. If you want to follow me on Telegram, I put up about 100 updates a day on the wars in the Middle East, stuff that comes out of social media. I translate from Arabic, from Russian, from Hebrew, and stuff you're not going to see. And the news I get is usually 12 to 24 hours before the mainstream media gets it. To get to Telegram, you have to download the app Telegram Messenger. It's free. Send me an email. My email address is in the last line down in the description box. It's also in the chat by the PayPal link, and I'll read it to you. It's Israel Giving, one word with the number 7 at Gmail. I also post a lot of stuff about America and this going on in America. Okay? And Telegram's all free. Just send me an email with Telegram in the subject header. I'll send you an invite link. If you install the app Telegram Messenger, hit the invite link, boom, you're in 2-3 seconds. It's updated frequently. So if you like getting the intel on the wars, there you go. My name's Moshe. My wife is Rivka. Please pray for us for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for the healing of our bodies. Pray for our finances and our health. And pray for our animals and pets, the birds and the dogs. They're all rescues, every one of them. So pray for them. And they'd be happy, healthy, and whole, not run away or fight with each other and so forth. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Oh, I'm slightly over 2.5 hours. I did good today. I try to keep these things shorter. So I do not wear any yarmulke head covers or any rabbinical stuff. I'm Old and New Testament believer. But I like cowboy hats. They shade my eyes, and my eyes need all the help they can get, and I like them. And that's it. And then people see me with a cowboy hat, and I'm wearing a hat, and they know I'm not a member of these rabbinical organizations. I'm out, guys. Thank you.